The world of reality television has been sent into a tailspin this week as shocking allegations surrounding Kirk Frost and Kendra come to light, and fans are left reeling in disbelief. Eyewitnesses claim that what was meant to be a routine night out turned into a scandalous hotel encounter that has rocked both families and divided loyalties across social media. Rumors began circulating late last night, whispering of secretive phone calls, late-night texts, and a shadowy meeting at a downtown hotel that allegedly involved Kirk and Kendra in ways no one expected. Social media erupted almost immediately. Fans are shocked, emotions ran high, and speculation spread like wildfire, each new post more sensational than the last. The tension isn't limited to the public eye. Sources close to the family report that private arguments escalated to screaming matches and tearful confrontations, leaving everyone unsure who to trust. What truly happened in that hotel room? Did a misunderstanding spiral out of control, or is there something more deliberate at play? Even friends who have known Kirk and Kendra for years are expressing astonishment, struggling to reconcile the public personas of these reality stars with the rumors now swirling around them. Meanwhile, former allies are weighing in with cryptic posts and sly comments that hint at betrayals yet unseen. As the night unfolded, fans tracked every Instagram story, every Snapchat post, and every late-night tweet, desperate for answers that may never fully come. The family was left divided, with some members rushing to defend Kirk, others whispering doubts about Kendra, and the rest caught in the whirlwind of speculation. Tonight, we dive deep into the drama that has everyone talking, peeling back layers of secrecy, betrayal, and raw emotion. Get ready, because what you're about to hear could change everything you thought you knew about Kirk and Kendra. The questions remain: who is telling the truth? And will this scandal alter the course of their public and private lives forever? The morning after that turbulent night brought no relief for Kirk or Kendra. Sources report that neither slept much, the weight of the previous evening's confrontation pressing on them like an invisible force. Kirk was said to have spent the early hours pacing the suite, replaying every word, every gesture, analyzing the moments that had spiraled out of control. "I can't believe it came to this," he allegedly muttered to himself, running a hand through his hair. Frustration and disbelief etched across his face. Kendra, meanwhile, sat by the window, arms crossed, eyes distant, as if reliving the argument over and over, mentally preparing for the inevitable fallout. Friends, close to the pair, describe an air thick with tension, the kind that makes even casual conversations seem like walking through a minefield. The events of the previous night had transformed a simple hotel stay into a labyrinth of emotional landmines, each corner filled with accusations, defensive postures, and unspoken grievances. Later that morning, a key figure, an old mutual acquaintance, arrived unexpectedly, claiming a desire to mediate before things escalated further. Their entrance reportedly reignited sparks, with Kirk asserting, "You don't understand what's been happening," and Kendra replying sharply, "Maybe if you listened instead of accusing, we wouldn't be here." Insiders reveal that what followed was a marathon of conversation, an exhausting sequence of confrontations that touched on every layer of their tangled history. Each side brought up past slights, betrayals, and unacknowledged moments of hurt. The tension, observers say, was almost tangible, wrapping the suite in an invisible shroud of emotional electricity. As the day progressed, social media feeds exploded. Fans were glued to updates, desperate to piece together the puzzle. Some leaked snippets of cryptic Instagram stories, showing glimpses of Kirk's and Kendra's expressions: furrowed brows, tense lips, silent stares, that suggested the fallout was only growing in intensity. The family, too, became a whirlwind of conflicting emotions. Sources indicate that relatives of both Kirk and Kendra were bombarded with calls and messages, some defending their loved one, others urging caution, and still others sharing their own shock at the magnitude of the incident. One family member allegedly commented, "We've never seen them like this. It's like everything they've held inside came crashing out at once." Rumors intensified when a brief video surfaced of Kirk speaking to an unknown individual in the hotel hallway. Though blurry and incomplete, the footage sparked speculation about potential involvement from third parties, ex-partners, and even industry insiders who might have influenced the night's chaotic events. Each fan theory added a new layer of intrigue, forcing everyone to question what was truth and what was embellishment. Around midday, the hotel staff reportedly intervened more directly, attempting to maintain a semblance of order. However, insiders suggest that neither Kirk nor Kendra were in a state to comply easily. Their conversation was a storm of emotion, accusations, defenses, and occasional silences that spoke volumes more than words ever could. At one point, a heated moment escalated into an emotional confrontation over loyalty and trust, reportedly including statements like, "How could you betray me after everything? And you think this is betrayal? But you've ignored my side of the story for too long." The intensity of these words, sources say, left both parties drained but unresolved, the emotional stakes higher than ever. Fans online dissected every post, meme, and comment, creating viral threads speculating on what had truly transpired behind the hotel suite doors. Some sided with Kirk, emphasizing his frustration and desire for clarity, while others championed Kendra, praising her courage and honesty in facing long-ignored grievances. The family's response, according to insiders, mirrored this division, with private messages revealing mixed loyalties, whispered doubts, and heated debates over how to handle the unfolding situation. By late afternoon, the argument reportedly shifted focus from personal grievances to public perception. Kirk allegedly worried about how fans would interpret the night, how industry insiders might capitalize on the scandal, and whether Kendra's actions could damage his carefully maintained public image. Kendra, on the other hand, reportedly emphasized authenticity and truth, challenging Kirk to confront the reality of their relationship rather than hiding behind appearances. This clash of priorities intensified the drama, turning what might have been a private conflict into a narrative destined for viral consumption. Later in the evening, tensions reached a boiling point when a sudden revelation emerged: a detail from Kendra's past that Kirk allegedly found shocking. Witnesses claim Kirk's reaction was immediate and intense, demanding answers and explanations, while Kendra, already exhausted, responded defensively, asserting her right to privacy and insisting that the past should not dictate the present. The confrontation reportedly drew in hotel security once more, who tried to maintain calm as voices escalated and emotional energy threatened to spill into the hallway. Meanwhile, fans, now fully engrossed, flooded social media with reactions ranging from outrage to sympathy. "This is unreal," one tweeted. "I can't even with Kirk and Kendra. The emotions, the drama, it's too much." Another posted, "Fans are shocked, the family is divided, and I feel like I'm living through it with them." By the night's end, sources suggest that neither Kirk nor Kendra had reached a resolution. Instead, the events had created an intricate web of emotion, speculation, and tension that would persist for days. Private calls were made, messages exchanged, and friends consulted, each attempt to clarify the situation revealing more complexity rather than simplifying it. As the story circulated online, industry insiders reportedly debated the impact on future projects, potential endorsements, and the broader implications for their public personas. The drama was no longer confined to a single hotel suite. It had become a multi-layered narrative that engaged fans, friends, family, and the media alike. Emotional stakes were at an all-time high, and everyone involved appeared acutely aware that the events of that night had shifted the dynamics of their relationships permanently. One insider described the atmosphere as charged, unpredictable, and utterly consuming, a perfect storm of human emotion, ambition, and the inevitable consequences of secrets revealed too late. Observers noted that both Kirk and Kendra had reached a point where compromise seemed distant, each standing firm in their positions, convinced that their perspective was the one the world needed to understand. The juxtaposition of public scrutiny and private conflict amplified every gesture, every word, every expression, leaving both parties navigating a landscape as treacherous as it was unforgiving. Meanwhile, social media exploded with fan theories about possible reconciliations, betrayals, and future confrontations. Supporters and critics alike dissected every available detail, fueling a virtual drama that mirrored the intensity of the hotel events themselves. Each post seemed to add weight to the narrative, creating a feedback loop of speculation, commentary, and anticipation. Insiders report that by the early hours of the following day, both Kirk and Kendra were exhausted, physically and emotionally drained from the unrelenting intensity of the previous 24 hours. But even in fatigue, neither seemed willing to back down. Their personal stakes intertwined with public perception, pride, and the intricate dance of loyalty and truth. In interviews later recounted by friends, Kirk allegedly admitted to feeling blindsided, his words tinged with both frustration and bewilderment, while Kendra described her own perspective with equal intensity, emphasizing her need to assert herself and demand acknowledgement. The result, insiders say, was a continuing stalemate, each party navigating a delicate balance of vulnerability and defense, with emotions running so high that even mundane interactions seemed charged with potential conflict. As the night stretched on, rumors of outside influences, former partners, friends, and industry figures, suggesting that the hotel drama was part of a larger web of interpersonal dynamics that had been simmering for months. Each new revelation added layers of complexity, forcing both Kirk and Kendra to reconsider alliances, motivations, and the potential fallout from every decision. Fans, ever vigilant, tracked these developments obsessively. Live reactions, social media commentary, and viral posts painted a vivid picture of the emotional turmoil, allowing outsiders to feel as though they were part of the unfolding narrative. The combination of private conflict and public speculation created a feedback loop that intensified the stakes, making every moment more critical, every word more consequential. By the time dawn broke over the city, the hotel suite was reportedly quiet, yet the atmosphere remained tense. The physical signs of the previous night's chaos, the disheveled room, scattered belongings, and remnants of arguments, served as a stark reminder of the emotional storm that had transpired. Kirk and Kendra were left to confront not only the immediate fallout but the larger implications for their relationships, reputations, and the narrative that the public would inevitably construct around them. The events of the hotel night, according to insiders, would leave lasting impressions, shaping interactions, decisions, and public perception for months to come. The stakes had never been higher, and every move, every word, and every glance carried weight far beyond what either party could have anticipated. The tension following that fateful hotel night showed no signs of easing as Kirk and Kendra moved into the following days, each action scrutinized under the lens of fans, family, and insiders. Sources close to the situation reported that the morning after the heated exchanges, both parties attempted to compose themselves for public appearances, but the strain was visible. Kirk, typically composed in interviews and on social media, was reportedly quieter than usual, his expressions tight, eyes flicking constantly to notifications on his phone. Kendra, on the other hand, maintained a determined front, but those who had spent time with her noticed subtle signs of emotional exhaustion, a hand that twitched nervously, a momentary pause before responding to questions, a fleeting glance of vulnerability that betrayed her composed exterior. Friends described the pair as being caught in a delicate balance, forced to navigate both the public eye and the raw emotions that had erupted behind closed doors. Tensions reportedly flared anew when private conversations leaked to the press, adding fuel to an already volatile situation. Anonymous sources allegedly disclosed snippets of texts and private calls, painting a picture of ongoing frustration and mutual recrimination. "It's like they can't stop talking about it," one insider said. "Every message is dissected, every word analyzed, and it just keeps the fire burning." The family, too, became increasingly involved, with relatives stepping in to mediate and attempt to calm the situation. According to sources, these interventions were met with resistance at first, both Kirk and Kendra unwilling to yield ground. One particularly heated family discussion allegedly ended with tears and accusations, as long-suppressed grievances surfaced with renewed intensity. Emotions ran high, and the underlying conflict became more entangled, touching on past betrayals, perceived slights, and questions of trust that had lingered for months, if not years. Social media continued to serve as both a mirror and a magnifier of the drama. Fans dissected every public post, from casual Instagram stories to cryptic tweets, turning them into theories, memes, and viral threads that expanded the narrative far beyond what Kirk and Kendra could control. Many expressed shock at the intensity of the emotions displayed, some defending Kirk as a figure unfairly attacked, others applauding Kendra for standing her ground and insisting on her truth. By midweek, insiders report that the hotel night incident had created a cascade effect, influencing ongoing interactions not only between Kirk and Kendra but also among mutual acquaintances and professional contacts. Meetings that might have otherwise been routine were now laced with tension, each conversation weighed down by the potential for conflict or misinterpretation. At one point, an unexpected visitor, a former friend of Kirk's, allegedly entered the picture, attempting to mediate but instead becoming entangled in the fray. According to eyewitnesses, emotions once again surged, voices raised, and the situation threatened to spiral into further confrontation. Amid all this, sources suggest that the pressure of public scrutiny weighed heavily on both parties. Every misstep, every word, every interaction carried consequences, magnified by a fan base eager for drama and a media landscape quick to sensationalize. Kirk reportedly expressed frustration over the invasion of privacy, noting that details being aired online were exaggerated and misrepresented, while Kendra allegedly voiced concern over misperceptions, emphasizing her own need to clarify and defend her actions. The next significant twist reportedly came when an old acquaintance provided information that neither Kirk nor Kendra had anticipated, throwing the previous understanding of events into question. Sources describe a moment of disbelief and shock as new details emerged, forcing both to reconsider the events of the hotel night, the motivations behind their actions, and the narrative being constructed around them. Emotions surged, and arguments flared once more, this time with a deeper intensity, as unresolved feelings and fresh revelations collided. In the days that followed, insiders report that both Kirk and Kendra attempted to navigate public interactions with caution, aware that any misstep could be amplified and misinterpreted. Interviews, social media posts, and public appearances were carefully managed. Yet the undercurrent of tension remained, visible to anyone watching closely. Friends and family attempted to mediate, but the situation had become a complex web of emotions, loyalties, and perceptions that made resolution difficult. Fans, of course, remained deeply invested, following every development, posting reactions, and speculating about possible reconciliations or further confrontations. Discussions online ranged from detailed analyses of body language and tone to predictions about the long-term impact on careers and personal relationships. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, Kirk and Kendra reportedly spent hours reflecting on the events, attempting to untangle the complex emotions that had been unleashed. Sources suggest they engaged in private conversations, each trying to assert their perspective, their feelings, and their understanding of the night's events. These exchanges, according to insiders, were intense and emotionally charged. Sometimes calm, sometimes explosive, reflecting the depth of the unresolved issues. As the saga unfolded, friends reported that both Kirk and Kendra experienced a mix of frustration, regret, and determination. Kirk allegedly admitted moments of reflecting on choices that may have escalated the situation, while Kendra reportedly maintained a firm stance on asserting her perspective and demanding acknowledgement of her feelings. Outside observers noted that this dynamic created an almost palpable tension, a combination of vulnerability and defiance that defined every interaction. By the end of the week, the hotel night incident had permeated every facet of their lives. Professional meetings, social interactions, and even casual conversations were influenced by the emotional fallout. Friends described a sense of walking on eggshells around both parties, with even minor disagreements carrying the potential for escalation. Social media engagement continued to intensify, with fans analyzing cryptic posts, leaked screenshots, and subtle changes in public behavior, interpreting each as a signal of the ongoing drama. The pressure reportedly reached a point where both Kirk and Kendra began planning private strategies, discussing how to manage public perception, family reactions, and personal boundaries. Sources claim these discussions were painstakingly detailed, reflecting a recognition of the stakes involved and the need to navigate the complex interplay of emotion and reputation. At the same time, reports surfaced of further complications, misunderstandings, accidental leaks of private information, and unsolicited advice from friends and acquaintances, each contributing to a sense of chaos and unpredictability. Kirk and Kendra were left to manage the emotional intensity of the situation, while also considering the implications for future interactions, public appearances, and long-term relationships. As the weekend approached, insiders suggest that a series of private meetings took place, intended to clarify misunderstandings and attempt to rebuild trust. Witnesses describe these meetings as a mix of emotion, negotiation, and reflection, with moments of vulnerability counterbalanced by firmness and careful boundary setting. Despite these efforts, the underlying tension remained, a reminder of the intensity and complexity of the hotel night incident and the emotional weight it had unleashed. Friends reported that both parties were deeply aware of the long-term implications, not only for themselves but for family, friends, and fans. The ripple effect of a single night of confrontation had extended far beyond the walls of the hotel suite, influencing relationships, reputations, and perceptions in ways that were difficult to fully control. Social media chatter continued unabated, with fans expressing shock, concern, and curiosity, dissecting every possible detail of the ongoing saga. Observers described the situation as an intricate dance of emotion and perception, with both Kirk and Kendra navigating a landscape fraught with challenges, misinterpretations, and high stakes. By the end of Part 3, sources indicated that both Kirk and Kendra had reached a tentative understanding of the events, acknowledging miscommunications while still holding firm on certain points of disagreement. The process of emotional reconciliation, however, remained fragile. with the ever-present scrutiny of the public and family dynamics adding layers of complexity to every interaction. The drama, as insiders warn, was far from over, and the fallout from that hotel night promised to continue shaping narratives, relationships, and public perceptions for weeks to come. The following days reportedly saw a continuation of the emotional turbulence, as Kirk and Kendra navigated the aftermath of the hotel night with increasing awareness of the scrutiny surrounding them. Insiders described the atmosphere as tense and fragile, each encounter charged with the weight of previous conflicts and unspoken grievances. Kirk was allegedly preoccupied with reconciling the public narrative with the private truth, attempting to maintain composure while managing a flood of questions from fans, friends, and family alike. "It feels like every move I make is being watched," he reportedly said to a close confidant, frustration evident in his voice. Kendra, for her part, purportedly focused on asserting her version of events, determined that her perspective be acknowledged and understood. "I just want them to hear me," she allegedly told a friend, her tone a mix of resolve and exhaustion. Social media continued to amplify the tension. Fans dissected every subtle gesture, every cryptic post, and every interview snippet, turning minor actions into major points of debate. The intensity of fan engagement reportedly added pressure to both Kirk and Kendra, creating a feedback loop in which public perception and private emotion fueled one another. Friends close to the pair described this period as one of constant vigilance, where every word had to be carefully measured, and every interaction weighed against potential consequences. According to sources, the emotional fallout also began affecting extended family dynamics. Some relatives reportedly took sides, aligning with either Kirk or Kendra, while others attempted to mediate, creating a complicated web of loyalties and tension. One family member allegedly commented, "It's like walking a tightrope, say the wrong thing, and it sets off another round of conflict." By midweek, additional revelations reportedly emerged, further complicating the narrative. Insiders claim that private messages, once thought insignificant, became a source of contention, each new disclosure prompting fresh discussions, arguments, and moments of emotional intensity. Kirk and Kendra were described as alternating between moments of frustration, reflection, and cautious attempts at reconciliation, each aware that the situation could escalate at any moment. Observers report that the conflict began to shift from the specifics of the hotel night to broader issues of trust, loyalty, and long-standing patterns of behavior. Both parties allegedly confronted one another about past grievances, perceived betrayals, and unmet expectations, each interaction intensifying the emotional complexity of the situation. In one reported instance, a heated exchange escalated to the point where both Kirk and Kendra raised their voices, revisiting unresolved issues and accusing each other of manipulations and omissions. "You think you know me, but you never really listened," Kirk reportedly said, frustration and hurt mingling in his tone. Kendra countered sharply, "I've been listening, but you've been rewriting the story in your head." The intensity of the exchanges, insiders claim, left both parties emotionally drained, yet neither willing to relinquish their position or perspective. Outside observers, including mutual friends and family members, reportedly struggled to intervene effectively, caught between the desire to mediate and the realization that the conflict was fueled by deeper emotional currents. Social media engagement only heightened the tension, with fans analyzing, speculating, and debating every detail. Each cryptic post, each subtle gesture, became a focal point for discussion, drawing attention from those both supportive and critical. The online discourse, sources say, amplified the pressure on Kirk and Kendra, forcing them to consider not just the personal implications of their actions but also the public perception that would inevitably shape the narrative. As the week progressed, both Kirk and Kendra reportedly attempted private conversations aimed at finding common ground. These discussions, described as tense and emotionally charged, included moments of vulnerability as each acknowledged past misunderstandings and emotional missteps. Yet, even in these attempts at resolution, unresolved feelings and differing perspectives prevented a full reconciliation. Friends close to the pair report that the emotional stakes remained high, with each interaction carrying the potential to reignite conflict or foster a tentative understanding. By the end of the week, insiders suggest that Kirk and Kendra had reached a precarious truce, agreeing to navigate future interactions with caution while maintaining awareness of the unresolved tensions. However, the emotional landscape remained fragile, with the potential for flare-ups persisting in every conversation, every public appearance, and every social media post. Throughout this period, the ripple effects of the hotel night were evident in multiple spheres. Family discussions became more cautious, friendships were tested, and professional interactions were colored by the ongoing scrutiny and tension. Observers note that the intensity of the emotional fallout created a situation in which even minor incidents could be magnified, leading to further speculation, debate, and conflict. In addition, new developments reportedly emerged that added unexpected twists to the story. Anonymous sources allegedly leaked details of conversations and interactions that suggested hidden complexities, including potential misunderstandings, conflicting recollections, and differing interpretations of events. Each new revelation, insiders claim, fueled renewed discussions, emotional confrontations, and speculation among friends, family, and fans. By the following weekend, the story had reached a critical point. Sources report that Kirk and Kendra were forced to confront the broader implications of the hotel night, both for their personal relationships and for their public image. Friends allege that they spent hours reflecting on the emotional intensity of the situation, considering strategies for managing perception, maintaining personal boundaries, and addressing unresolved tensions. The social media storm continued unabated, with fans dissecting every detail, from subtle expressions to cryptic captions, creating a feedback loop that heightened emotional pressure and increased the stakes of every interaction. Insiders describe the atmosphere as electric, a combination of anticipation, anxiety, and emotional vulnerability. Every conversation carried potential consequences. Every interaction was scrutinized, and the weight of unresolved conflict created a persistent undercurrent of tension. By the close of this period, both Kirk and Kendra were reportedly exhausted but acutely aware of the need to navigate the situation carefully. Friends suggest that the emotional intensity of the hotel night and its aftermath had left both parties more cautious, reflective, and strategic, aware that any misstep could escalate the situation further. Yet, despite this awareness, the emotional currents remained strong, with lingering feelings of hurt, frustration, and uncertainty influencing every interaction. Observers continue to follow developments closely, noting that the fallout from the hotel night remains a defining chapter in the narrative surrounding Kirk and Kendra. Every post, every statement, and every appearance contributes to the ongoing drama, keeping fans engaged, emotions high, and speculation rampant. The combination of private conflict, public scrutiny, and unresolved emotional tension has created a landscape in which the story continues to evolve, each new day offering the possibility of revelations, confrontations, and dramatic twists. Friends and insiders alike caution that while moments of calm may occur, the underlying issues remain unresolved, and the ripple effects of the hotel night are likely to continue influencing relationships, perceptions, and emotional dynamics for weeks, if not months, to come. The saga, they say, is far from over. The days that followed reportedly intensified the emotional whirlwind, as Kirk and Kendra found themselves navigating a landscape fraught with tension, public scrutiny, and personal reflection. According to insiders, both were still grappling with the aftermath of the hotel night, each carrying the weight of unresolved feelings, lingering resentments, and the realization that the events had become a public spectacle. Kirk, usually measured and confident, was said to be unusually reflective, often caught staring at his phone, reading fan reactions, and pondering the implications of leaked snippets of conversation. "I didn't expect this to blow up like it has," he allegedly confided to a close friend, his voice tinged with both frustration and fatigue. Kendra, meanwhile, reportedly focused on maintaining her dignity and asserting her perspective, determined to ensure that her voice and version of events were not overshadowed by rumors or misinterpretations. Friends describe her as oscillating between composure and moments of emotional vulnerability, a tension that mirrored the broader narrative unfolding around them. The continued leak of private messages and interactions purportedly kept the drama alive, with every new revelation reigniting debates, speculation, and heightened emotions. Sources suggest that both Kirk and Kendra were acutely aware that even small missteps could be amplified, creating a landscape in which caution, strategy, and emotional resilience were paramount. As the week progressed, the hotel night's fallout began affecting not only the pair themselves but also their extended network. Family members, friends, and colleagues found themselves drawn into the narrative, mediating, supporting, or sometimes exacerbating tensions. One insider reportedly noted, "Everyone has an opinion, and everyone wants to weigh in, whether it helps or not." Emotions ran high as relatives attempted to reconcile their loyalty to one party with concern for the other, leading to private conflicts, whispered debates, and occasional public exchanges that only added layers of complexity to an already tangled situation. Social media continued to play a pivotal role, with fans dissecting body language, tone, and cryptic posts, creating theories and sparking discussions that circulated at lightning speed. Every comment became fodder for speculation, every like or share interpreted as a signal of allegiance or criticism. Observers note that this constant scrutiny amplified the stress on Kirk and Kendra, forcing them to navigate a minefield of emotion, perception, and expectation. According to insiders, the intensity of these dynamics led to a series of private confrontations, both planned and spontaneous, as the pair attempted to address lingering issues and establish a sense of understanding. These interactions reportedly included moments of vulnerability, apologies, defensiveness, and outright disagreement, each interaction layering further complexity onto the emotional landscape. At one particularly charged moment, sources claim that Kirk confronted Kendra about what he perceived as misrepresentations and omissions in the narrative surrounding the hotel night. "You keep twisting what happened," he allegedly exclaimed, his voice rising with emotion. Kendra, according to witnesses, responded with equal intensity, "I'm telling it like it was, and I won't be silenced." Friends report that the exchange left both parties drained but unresolved, highlighting the difficulty of reconciling divergent perspectives after a night fraught with emotion and misunderstanding. Meanwhile, family members reportedly attempted to intervene, offering advice, mediation, and support, but the situation remained delicate, with emotions running high and each party sensitive to perceived judgments or biases. Some relatives reportedly sided more firmly with one person, while others attempted to remain neutral, creating an intricate web of influence, expectation, and loyalty. By the middle of the week, sources suggest that Kirk and Kendra engaged in extended private discussions aimed at clarifying misunderstandings and attempting to rebuild trust. These conversations reportedly oscillated between moments of agreement and renewed conflict, reflecting the deep complexity of the issues at hand. Observers describe a landscape in which vulnerability and defensiveness coexisted, creating an emotional tension that was palpable to those in close proximity. Social media engagement continued to escalate, with fans interpreting every subtle post, story, or interaction as a clue to the ongoing drama. Memes, debates, and viral discussions created an ecosystem in which the narrative evolved in real time, shaping perceptions and expectations in ways that further influenced Kirk and Kendra's interactions. Friends close to the pair reportedly noted that the intensity of this engagement sometimes forced them to pause, reflect, and recalibrate their approach, balancing the need for authenticity with the demands of public perception. As the week drew to a close, insiders claimed that the hotel night incident had left a lasting imprint on Kirk and Kendra, influencing not only their personal interactions but also professional considerations, social engagements, and family dynamics. Even seemingly mundane decisions were reportedly weighed against potential repercussions, both emotional and reputational. Observers note that the emotional undercurrents remained potent, with unresolved feelings, lingering tension, and public scrutiny creating a persistent sense of pressure and anticipation. By the weekend, sources suggest that both Kirk and Kendra were actively planning strategies for managing the fallout, including careful public communication, private reconciliation efforts, and deliberate boundary setting with friends and family. The complexity of the situation reportedly required ongoing negotiation, reflection, and emotional labor, as each party sought to navigate the intertwined dynamics of trust, loyalty, and perception. Despite these efforts, the emotional intensity of the hotel night's aftermath reportedly lingered, with every interaction, conversation, and public engagement carrying the potential to reignite conflict or spark new revelations. Friends describe a delicate balance, in which moments of calm were always shadowed by the possibility of renewed tension, creating a landscape in which vigilance and emotional resilience were essential. Throughout this period, insiders claim that both Kirk and Kendra were acutely aware of the narrative being constructed by fans, media, and family members, and that this awareness influenced their actions, words, and strategies. Observers note that the interplay of private emotion and public perception created a feedback loop, in which each decision could shape subsequent interactions and influence the trajectory of the ongoing drama. As the story continued to unfold, both Kirk and Kendra reportedly faced a series of difficult decisions, balancing emotional truth with strategic communication, and navigating the complexities of relationships, loyalty, and accountability. The ripple effects of the hotel night incident, sources suggest, extended far beyond the immediate events, influencing relationships, perceptions, and decisions in ways that remained unpredictable and highly charged. By the end of this period, insiders indicate that the narrative had reached a point of cautious equilibrium, with Kirk and Kendra engaging in careful interactions, ongoing reflection, and deliberate communication strategies. Yet the emotional stakes remained high, and the potential for renewed conflict, public speculation, or further revelations was ever present. Observers continue to monitor developments closely, noting that the combination of personal emotion, public scrutiny, and unresolved tension has created a scenario in which every interaction is significant, every word carries weight, and the story remains far from concluded. The complexity of the situation, according to insiders, ensures that the drama of the hotel night and its aftermath will continue to captivate, provoke, and challenge all involved for the foreseeable future. The weeks following the infamous hotel night reportedly saw Kirk and Kendra walking a tightrope of emotional intensity, public scrutiny, and private reflection, as the fallout continued to ripple through every facet of their lives. Sources close to the situation described the pair as operating in a heightened state of awareness, acutely conscious that every word, gesture, and social interaction could be scrutinized, misinterpreted, or weaponized by fans, media, or even acquaintances. Kirk, often considered calm under pressure, allegedly experienced moments of doubt and reflection, frequently confiding to trusted friends about the difficulty of navigating the post-drama landscape. "I keep thinking about every word, every action," he reportedly said, voice tinged with fatigue. "It's exhausting trying to untangle what really happened from what everyone thinks happened." Kendra, on the other hand, reportedly remained resolute, determined to assert her narrative while simultaneously managing the emotional weight of the incident. Friends close to her described a mixture of composure and vulnerability, noting that she was carefully weighing each interaction, both public and private, to maintain credibility, dignity, and agency in a situation that had spiraled far beyond her control. The hotel night's fallout, insiders suggest, began influencing every sphere of their lives. Family interactions were reportedly cautious and measured, with relatives conscious of the tension and often acting as intermediaries to prevent further escalation. Friends and acquaintances navigated conversations carefully, aware that missteps could reignite the emotional volatility of previous confrontations. Social media remained a relentless force, with fans dissecting posts, stories, and interviews, each offering a new lens for speculation and judgment. The intensity of online engagement, insiders claim, created a feedback loop in which public perception and private emotion fed into each other, amplifying both stress and drama. In the midst of this ongoing turmoil, sources report that Kirk and Kendra engaged in a series of private conversations aimed at reconciliation and clarity. These dialogues reportedly involved a careful balance of acknowledgement, accountability, and boundary setting as each attempted to assert their perspective while understanding the other's experience. Witnesses allege that some discussions included moments of candid vulnerability, apologies, and recognition of yet underlying tension remained, a reminder of the lasting impact of the hotel night and its emotional weight. Complicating matters further, new revelations allegedly emerged, adding layers of intrigue and conflict. Private details previously unknown to fans or even close acquaintances reportedly came to light, prompting fresh debates, emotional confrontations, and reconsiderations of past interactions. The result, insiders claim, was a cycle of reflection, discussion, and recalibration, as both Kirk and Kendra sought to navigate the complex interplay of personal feelings, public narrative, and long-term implications. Friends and family reportedly observed that, despite moments of progress, the emotional stakes remained high, with the potential for renewed tension ever present. Even mundane interactions, planned meetings, casual encounters, or social media posts were imbued with the possibility of reigniting conflict or sparking new speculation. Sources suggest that the ongoing drama also began affecting professional considerations, with decisions regarding projects, appearances, and endorsements increasingly influenced by the need to manage public perception and mitigate potential fallout. Every choice, insiders say, became a delicate negotiation between authenticity, strategy, and emotional survival. Meanwhile, fan engagement reportedly intensified, with audiences dissecting every post, expression, and gesture, amplifying pressure on both Kirk and Kendra. Memes, debates, and speculative threads flourished, creating an ecosystem in which the story evolved dynamically, often beyond the control of those directly involved. According to observers, this constant scrutiny further complicated the emotional landscape, forcing both parties to balance personal reflection with strategic communication, all while managing the enduring intensity of their private feelings. In addition to personal and public pressures, sources indicate that unexpected interventions from friends, family, and acquaintances occasionally added complexity, offering advice, mediation, or commentary that sometimes helped, but other times inflamed tensions. Kirk and Kendra reportedly navigated these interactions carefully, aware that even well-intentioned guidance could shift dynamics in unpredictable ways. As time progressed, insiders claim that the hotel night's emotional imprint became increasingly evident in both overt and subtle behaviors. Moments of tension surfaced unexpectedly, often triggered by minor incidents, reminders, or perceived slights, reinforcing the lasting impact of the original conflict. Friends report that while progress toward understanding and reconciliation occurred sporadically, the overall landscape remained charged, with vigilance and careful communication remaining essential. By the end of the period, sources suggest that Kirk and Kendra had achieved a fragile balance, engaging in ongoing efforts to maintain civility, rebuild trust, and navigate public scrutiny while recognizing that unresolved emotional currents continued to shape interactions. Observers note that the story's evolution demonstrates the complexity of human relationships under stress, particularly when private conflict intersects with public perception, social media amplification, and the involvement of friends and family. Despite moments of calm, insiders caution that the potential for renewed tension or fresh revelations remains high, ensuring that the narrative continues to captivate, provoke, and challenge all involved. Friends close to the pair reportedly emphasized the need for patience, reflection, and careful strategy, noting that the emotional intensity of the hotel night had created dynamics that would require ongoing management, understanding, and sensitivity. Meanwhile, fans remained deeply engaged, eagerly following updates, speculating on potential resolutions, and analyzing each nuance of behavior and communication. Sources describe a landscape in which the drama is simultaneously personal, public, and perpetually evolving, with each day introducing new possibilities for confrontation, clarification, or revelation. The long-term implications, insiders suggest, extend beyond immediate emotional effects, influencing relationships, reputations, and the broader narrative surrounding Kirk and Kendra. Every interaction, decision, and disclosure contributes to a dynamic story that continues to unfold, ensuring that the impact of the hotel night remains a defining element of the narrative. As the saga continues, sources indicate that both Kirk and Kendra remain committed to navigating the complexities with a combination of caution, reflection, and assertiveness, aware that the interplay of personal emotion, public perception, and ongoing scrutiny will shape outcomes for the foreseeable future. While moments of understanding and connection occur, the underlying tensions remain, a testament to the enduring significance of the events that transpired that night and the intricate web of relationships, loyalties, and perceptions that surround them. Friends, family, and observers alike anticipate that the unfolding story will continue to provide dramatic, emotionally charged developments, maintaining public interest and emotional engagement. In this charged atmosphere, insiders suggest that Kirk and Kendra's journey toward resolution, clarity, and equilibrium remains ongoing, with each new day bringing the potential for revelation, reconciliation, or renewed conflict, ensuring that the drama of the hotel night continues to captivate, provoke, and challenge all involved. As the weeks stretched into what felt like an endless cycle of tension and scrutiny, Kirk and Kendra reportedly found themselves trapped in a delicate dance of emotion, strategy, and perception, each day bringing fresh challenges, new revelations, and lingering uncertainty. According to insiders, even the simplest interactions, whether a phone call, a social media post, or a family dinner, were laden with the potential for misinterpretation or escalation. Kirk, who had once been known for his steady demeanor, allegedly experienced bouts of heightened stress, reflecting privately on choices, words, and gestures that could have contributed to the ongoing friction. Friends who spoke to him during this period reportedly described him as contemplative, cautious, and at times visibly frustrated, constantly weighing the impact of each action on both public perception and personal relationships. Kendra, meanwhile, maintained a combination of poise and guarded vulnerability, navigating the same pressures with a careful awareness of her own narrative and reputation. Sources close to her claim that she frequently replayed interactions in her mind, analyzing potential reactions from family members, friends, and the ever-watchful fan base, determined not to be misrepresented or overshadowed in the unfolding story. Social media, as ever, acted as both a magnifying glass and a storm, amplifying even the smallest gestures into viral talking points, sparking fan debates, memes, and speculation that neither Kirk nor Kendra could entirely control. One insider described the phenomenon as living in a pressure cooker, noting that every post, every story, and every subtle reaction became a battleground for public opinion. Family dynamics added another layer of complexity. Relatives reportedly attempted to mediate, advise, and support both parties, but their interventions were often met with mixed results, sometimes diffusing tension, sometimes inadvertently fueling it. Sources suggest that disagreements about loyalty, perspective, and interpretation of events led to private debates among family members themselves, leaving Kirk and Kendra not only navigating their own emotions but also the ripple effects of familial involvement. Friends describe certain days as particularly tense, where casual encounters escalated into long, emotionally charged discussions, revisiting every nuance of the hotel night. Kirk allegedly confronted Kendra on issues that had simmered in silence, questioning motives and interpretations with a mix of frustration and vulnerability. "I don't understand why we keep circling the same point," he reportedly said in one private exchange, his voice tight with emotion. Kendra, in turn, reportedly maintained a firm stance, emphasizing her perception and insisting on acknowledgement of her own experience. "I've said what I needed to say," she allegedly replied. "It's not about winning, it's about being heard." These repeated cycles of confrontation, clarification, and reflection, according to insiders, created a pattern in which moments of tentative understanding were frequently interrupted by renewed tension, unexpected revelations, or social media-fueled speculation. The pressure of public scrutiny reportedly exacerbated every interaction, turning small disagreements into sources of amplified stress and frustration. By mid-month, sources claim that the drama had begun to influence broader aspects of both Kirk and Kendra's lives. Professional decisions, casual outings, and even conversations with friends and acquaintances were now filtered through the lens of potential fallout, creating an environment in which vigilance, strategic thinking, and emotional self-regulation became almost constant necessities. Observers note that the intricate interplay between private emotions, public perception, and external commentary created a landscape of unpredictability, where each day could bring a fresh twist or revelation capable of reigniting conflict or reshaping relationships. At one particularly tense moment, insiders report that Kirk and Kendra faced a situation in which a miscommunication sparked a heated debate in front of mutual friends, forcing both to confront not only their own frustrations but also the ripple effects of their unresolved issues. Witnesses allegedly described raised voices, sharp gestures, and moments of intense vulnerability, followed by periods of quiet reflection, where both seemed aware of the delicate balance they were attempting to maintain. Social media commentary on the incident reportedly intensified the scrutiny, with fans dissecting body language, dialogue, snippets, and even the order in which photos and posts appeared online. Memes, speculative threads, and passionate debates proliferated, reinforcing the sense that every minor detail carried weight far beyond what Kirk and Kendra could control. Sources suggest that, despite the ongoing tension, there were fleeting moments of connection and understanding. Private conversations occasionally included acknowledgments of miscommunication, expressions of empathy, and tentative steps toward rebuilding trust. Friends close to the pair reportedly observed that these moments, though brief, served as reminders that reconciliation, while challenging, was still possible. The interplay of tension and resolution, frustration and vulnerability, created a dynamic that insiders described as both exhausting and captivating, a dramatic ebb and flow in which progress was fragile and setbacks were immediate and emotionally charged. In addition to these personal interactions, the hotel night's repercussions reportedly extended to the broader social circle. Friends and acquaintances found themselves navigating their own responses, often caught between loyalty, empathy, and the desire to remain neutral. These dynamics, insiders claim, further complicated the emotional landscape, as well-meaning interventions sometimes escalated tensions, while silence or inaction could be interpreted as support for one side over the other. Throughout this period, fans remained intensely engaged, dissecting every subtle post, story, and interaction. Sources suggest that the pressure of this continuous public attention influenced decisions, conversations, and even private reflections, creating a feedback loop in which social media commentary magnified personal emotion and strategic calculation. By the third week, insiders report that both Kirk and Kendra were actively engaging in long, private discussions aimed at clarification, reconciliation, and mutual understanding. These conversations reportedly included deep dives into past grievances, exploration of emotional triggers, and careful negotiation of boundaries and expectations. Friends close to the pair noted that the intensity of these dialogues was matched only by the high stakes involved, as each sought to protect personal dignity, manage public perception, and navigate the intricate web of relationships affected by the hotel night. Despite these efforts, sources claim that unresolved issues persisted, sometimes resurfacing unexpectedly during interactions with family, friends, or even casual public encounters. Each recurrence of tension, insiders say, served as a reminder of the enduring impact of the initial incident and the difficulty of fully disentangling emotion from perception, private reality from public narrative. By the end of the month, Kirk and Kendra reportedly reached a fragile equilibrium, engaging in a combination of careful communication, private reflection, and strategic public engagement. Friends observed that, while moments of calm existed, the emotional undercurrents remained potent, with every interaction potentially reopening old wounds or sparking new conflicts. The combination of personal emotion, public scrutiny, and ongoing social media engagement created a landscape in which vigilance, emotional intelligence, and strategic communication were essential for navigating each day. Insiders warned that, despite tentative progress, the situation remained far from fully resolved, with every post, comment, and conversation capable of reshaping the narrative and influencing the trajectory of relationships, perception, and public discussion. Throughout this extended period, Kirk and Kendra reportedly demonstrated resilience, patience, and a persistent commitment to managing the complexities of their situation. Yet the emotional intensity, public fascination, and ongoing social media amplification ensured that the saga remained an evolving drama, captivating fans, friends, and family alike. The intricate interplay of personal feelings, strategic communication, and the magnifying effect of external commentary created a scenario in which every decision carried weight. Every interaction held significance, and the potential for new developments was ever present. Observers suggest that the hotel night and its aftermath have created a narrative that will continue to unfold in unpredictable and dramatic ways, ensuring that Kirk and Kendra's journey, while private in its origins, remains a topic of ongoing public fascination, emotional intensity, and narrative complexity. Friends and family continue to watch closely, hoping for resolution, while fans remain eager for updates, interpretations, and revelations. The story, insiders assert, is far from concluded, with the ripple effects of the hotel night continuing to shape relationships, perceptions, and the broader drama surrounding Kirk and Kendra. Each new day brings the potential for unexpected twists, renewed tension, or surprising moments of clarity, keeping the saga alive, emotionally charged, and highly captivating. The combination of vulnerability, strategy, public scrutiny, and relational complexity ensures that the narrative remains rich with drama, speculation, and intensity, making it a story that continues to enthrall, provoke, and captivate audiences, insiders say. With no definitive resolution yet in sight, as the saga progressed, sources report that the emotional intensity surrounding Kirk and Kendra showed no signs of abating. The hotel night incident, once confined to a single event, had grown into a catalyst for ongoing tension, reflection, and public fascination, with every interaction between the pair carrying heightened significance. Friends close to both Kirk and Kendra describe a pattern in which small misunderstandings or miscommunications frequently escalated into prolonged periods of discussion, argument, or reflection. One insider noted that even casual remarks during conversations with mutual friends were sometimes dissected, analyzed, and debated, leaving both parties acutely aware that nothing they said or did was without consequence. Kirk, reportedly, spent considerable time reflecting on the impact of the hotel night, questioning how private moments had evolved into public drama. Friends claim he oscillated between frustration, defensiveness, and genuine reflection, often replaying scenarios in his mind, considering alternate responses, and anticipating potential outcomes. "It's like every move is being magnified 100 times, he allegedly confided to a confidant. "I can't just be myself without it being dissected." Kendra, meanwhile, reportedly experienced a similar mix of emotions, balancing a desire for personal clarity with the knowledge that her actions and words were under constant observation. Sources suggest that she frequently communicated with friends, seeking advice, validation, and perspective, while simultaneously striving to maintain her own narrative and sense of agency. Observers note that the interplay between private reflection, And public scrutiny created a pressure cooker environment in which emotions were intensified and every interaction, however small, became significant. Social media, as ever, continued to magnify tensions. Fans dissected photos, captions, and stories with an intensity that reportedly affected both Kirk and Kendra, influencing decisions, reactions, and even emotional well-being. Memes, comments, and speculation threads thrived, turning minor developments into major talking points, ensuring that the hotel night's repercussions remained a constant topic of conversation. Family dynamics, too, played a central role in the ongoing drama. Insiders report that relatives often found themselves mediating disputes, offering support, or attempting to guide the pair toward resolution. At the same time, differences in loyalty, perception, and interpretation of events reportedly created their own conflicts within the family, as some members aligned more firmly with Kirk or Kendra, while others attempted to maintain neutrality. According to sources, this additional layer of tension occasionally complicated direct interactions between Kirk and Kendra, as they navigated not only their own emotions, but also the influence of extended family perspectives and advice. During this period, multiple reported private conversations between Kirk and Kendra reflected the oscillating nature of their relationship, post-hotel night. At times, the exchanges were described as tense and emotionally charged, with both parties articulating grievances, frustrations, and misunderstandings accumulated over years. In other moments, the discussions reportedly shifted toward moments of vulnerability and attempted reconciliation, with acknowledgments of past mistakes, expressions of empathy, and tentative steps toward rebuilding trust. Friends suggest that the intensity of these interactions created a highly charged emotional landscape, with moments of calm often shadowed by lingering tension and unresolved questions. In addition, unexpected developments reportedly added new twists to the narrative. Anonymous sources allegedly revealed snippets of private conversations, text exchanges, and social media interactions that introduced fresh perspectives, new points of contention, and additional avenues for speculation. Each revelation, insiders claim, prompted renewed reflection, discussion, and sometimes heated debate between Kirk and Kendra, reinforcing the enduring complexity of the situation. Observers note that the combination of personal reflection, public scrutiny, and ongoing fan engagement created a feedback loop in which emotion and perception continually influenced one another. Minor incidents, once trivial, could trigger renewed tension or inspire fresh speculation, maintaining a high level of drama over an extended period. By the second month following the hotel night, Kirk and Kendra reportedly reached moments of fragile understanding, characterized by careful communication, strategic engagement, and a conscious effort to manage both personal emotion and public perception. Friends describe these moments as tentative, often requiring extensive negotiation, reflection, and emotional labor, yet providing glimmers of potential stability amid ongoing turbulence. Nevertheless, unresolved issues reportedly persisted, occasionally resurfacing during interactions with family, friends, or in response to social media commentary. Sources suggest that each recurrence of tension served as a reminder of the lasting impact of the hotel night and the complexity of reconciling private emotion with public narrative. At times, the pair reportedly attempted longer, structured conversations aimed at clarifying misunderstandings and negotiating mutual boundaries. These discussions, insiders claim, included candid reflections on perceived slights, unmet expectations, and lingering resentment, interspersed with efforts to acknowledge each other's perspectives and attempt reconciliation. Friends close to the pair reportedly noted that while these conversations often left both parties emotionally drained, they also provided a foundation for tentative progress, offering a path toward understanding, if not full resolution. Social media engagement remained a consistent factor, with fans scrutinizing every post, story, and interaction. Sources suggest that the pair became increasingly strategic in their communication, aware that subtle cues could be magnified, misinterpreted, or leveraged to fuel speculation. The feedback loop between public perception and private emotion reportedly created a heightened environment in which every interaction carried amplified significance. Family members, too, continued to navigate their own roles in the unfolding drama. Insiders report that relatives frequently weighed in, offering guidance, mediating disputes, or expressing concern, sometimes easing tensions, other times complicating interactions. The intricate interplay of loyalty, opinion, and intervention reportedly added layers of complexity to Kirk and Kendra's efforts to navigate the aftermath of the hotel night, demonstrating the multifaceted nature of relational dynamics in such a high-stakes situation. By the third month, sources claim that Kirk and Kendra had developed a pattern of measured communication, reflecting lessons learned from previous interactions, social media scrutiny, and the responses of friends and family. Observers note that while the emotional intensity remained, both parties demonstrated increased awareness of triggers, potential missteps, and strategies for managing conflict. Nonetheless, the potential for unexpected flare-ups persisted, as even minor incidents could spark renewed tension or debate. Insiders further suggest that the ongoing drama influenced professional considerations, social engagements, and public interactions, with both Kirk and Kendra reportedly factoring the narrative's ongoing evolution into decisions, plans, and communications. The hotel night's impact, they claim, had extended far beyond the initial event, shaping perception, relationships, and strategy in ways that continued to evolve. Even as moments of calm and tentative understanding occurred, the underlying emotional currents remained potent. Friends observed that Kirk and Kendra continued to experience cycles of reflection, confrontation, and reconciliation, each phase characterized by a delicate balance of emotion, perception, and strategic thought. The interaction of personal sentiment, family involvement, and social media engagement ensured that the drama remained alive, continuously reshaping the dynamics and maintaining high levels of emotional intensity. Observers emphasize that the narrative's ongoing nature, combined with the interplay of private and public forces, created a situation in which resolution was neither simple nor immediate. Instead, the saga continued to evolve in unpredictable and dramatic ways, keeping friends, family, and fans invested, emotionally engaged, and perpetually attentive to each new development. Sources claim that as each week passed, the pattern of reflection, confrontation, and measured interaction became deeply ingrained, shaping not only the relationship between Kirk and Kendra but also their broader social interactions, family dynamics, and public communications. Every post, every comment, and every conversation carried weight, with the potential to influence perceptions, emotional states, and subsequent interactions. The hotel night's ripple effects, insiders suggest, ensured that the story would remain dynamic, emotionally charged, and compelling for all involved. Friends note that despite periods of tentative peace, the intensity of the underlying emotions, coupled with ongoing public engagement and social media scrutiny, ensured that the narrative retained its dramatic edge. Even seemingly mundane events could trigger reflection, reconsideration, or renewed tension, sustaining the story's high stakes and public fascination. By the end of this period, Kirk and Kendra reportedly had become more adept at navigating the complex interplay of personal emotion, social perception, and relational strategy. Yet insiders caution that the potential for new developments, renewed conflict, or fresh revelations remained ever present, maintaining the saga's grip on both private and public attention. The combination of vulnerability, strategy, ongoing scrutiny, and relational complexity created a narrative that continued to captivate, provoke, and engage audiences, ensuring that the story of the hotel night, its aftermath, and its enduring emotional resonance would remain a topic of discussion, speculation, and fascination for the foreseeable future. Observers conclude that while Kirk and Kendra had developed methods for managing tension, reflection, and public perception, the drama remained alive, evolving, and emotionally potent, with each new day offering the possibility of revelation, confrontation, or resolution in ways that ensured continued attention, engagement, and narrative intrigue. The story, insiders assert, is far from concluded, with every interaction, decision, and disclosure contributing to a rich, emotionally charged, and perpetually evolving saga that remains deeply compelling for friends, family, and fans alike. As time progressed, sources indicate that Kirk and Kendra's situation became even more entangled in layers of emotion, public perception, and personal reflection, with every day presenting a new set of challenges, revelations, or emotional triggers. The hotel night, far from being a singular incident, had evolved into a catalyst for ongoing tension, strategic calculation, and relational complexity. Friends close to Kirk reportedly observed that he often found himself ruminating on conversations, social media reactions, and family interactions, struggling to balance the desire for honesty with the awareness that every word could be scrutinized, misinterpreted, or amplified. It's exhausting trying to separate what actually happened from what people think happened, he allegedly confided to a confidant. his expression tight with concern. Kendra, meanwhile, reportedly maintained a mixture of careful composure and private vulnerability, navigating the same pressures while asserting her perspective and striving to retain agency over her narrative. Sources claim she frequently revisited past interactions, weighing each exchange for meaning, significance, and potential implication, all while remaining conscious of the public and familial gaze. The dynamic between them, insiders note, oscillated between moments of tension, tentative understanding, and emotional reflection, creating a pattern in which progress was fragile and setbacks were frequent. Social media continued to amplify every nuance, turning even minor gestures, offhand remarks, or subtle posts into fodder for analysis, speculation, and debate. Fans dissected content, piecing together interpretations, crafting narratives, and fueling public fascination with every development. Memes, threads, and comment sections reportedly created a continuous feedback loop, heightening emotional stakes, intensifying scrutiny, and keeping the drama alive in both private and public spheres. Family involvement added another dimension of complexity. Relatives reportedly attempted to mediate disputes, provide guidance, and offer perspective. Yet their interventions sometimes added tension rather than alleviating it. Differing loyalties, interpretations, and opinions occasionally created additional friction, as Kirk and Kendra found themselves negotiating not only personal emotions but also the expectations and influence of their extended social network. Private conversations between Kirk and Kendra during this time purportedly ranged from intensely emotional confrontations to moments of candid reflection and tentative reconciliation. One insider described an exchange in which Kirk confronted Kendra over perceived misrepresentations, his voice rising with frustration. "Every time I think we're clear, something new surfaces. I feel like we're stuck in a loop." Kendra, according to sources, responded with measured intensity, asserting her perspective while emphasizing the importance of being heard. "I'm not trying to fight, I'm trying to be understood, but you keep dismissing my side." Observers note that these cycles of tension and reflection became a defining pattern, reinforcing the ongoing complexity and emotional stakes surrounding their relationship post-hotel night. Unexpected developments reportedly continued to surface, adding new twists to the narrative. Sources allege that private messages, photos, and interactions emerged, either intentionally or accidentally, reigniting speculation, debate, and emotional confrontation. Each new piece of information, insiders claim, prompted renewed reflection and sometimes conflict, further entrenching the emotional intensity of the situation. By the second month, Kirk and Kendra were reportedly engaging in longer, more structured conversations aimed at clarifying misunderstandings, negotiating boundaries, and attempting reconciliation. Friends close to the pair reportedly noted the exhaustion these dialogues created. Yet they also emphasized their importance in slowly addressing lingering grievances and building tentative trust. Despite these efforts, sources suggest that tension continued to resurface, often triggered by minor interactions, social media commentary, or family-related issues. Even when moments of calm occurred, the potential for renewed conflict remained ever present, maintaining a heightened state of emotional awareness and strategic engagement. The influence of fans and public perception reportedly played a persistent role, with every social media interaction analyzed, every post interpreted, and every gesture scrutinized. Insiders claim that this created an environment where Kirk and Kendra had to navigate not only their own emotions but also the ripple effects of fan interpretations, commentary, and speculation. Family dynamics, as well, remained intricate. Relatives reportedly oscillated between supportive mediation, candid advice, and occasional frustration at perceived inaction or miscommunication. These interventions, though well-intentioned, sometimes added complexity to the ongoing negotiation of trust, emotion, and perspective between Kirk and Kendra. By the third month, sources describe a pattern of cautious engagement, in which both parties demonstrated greater awareness of triggers, strategic thinking, and emotional self-regulation. Friends reported that Kirk and Kendra became more deliberate in their interactions, considering the potential impact of words, gestures, and posts before engaging in conversations or public communication. Yet, even with increased deliberation, moments of vulnerability, frustration, or miscommunication occasionally resurfaced, reflecting the enduring emotional resonance of the hotel night. Professional and social considerations reportedly became increasingly intertwined with the ongoing narrative. Decisions regarding projects, appearances, and social engagements were influenced by awareness of public perception and potential media scrutiny. According to insiders, this created an added layer of pressure, as choices once considered routine now required careful deliberation, strategic planning, and reflection on emotional consequences. Friends close to the pair reportedly observed that while tentative progress had been made in managing personal interactions, the landscape remained highly charged, with ongoing cycles of reflection, confrontation, and recalibration. Even seemingly minor events, such as casual social encounters, offhand comments, or indirect communication could serve as catalysts for renewed discussion or reflection, maintaining a consistent emotional intensity. Social media, insiders claim, continued to act as both magnifier and disruptor. Fans analyzed posts, stories, and interactions in real time, creating waves of speculation that affected both Kirk and Kendra's decisions and emotional states. The continuous feedback loop, insiders suggest, reinforced the high-stakes nature of the drama, ensuring that the hotel night's repercussions remained a pervasive presence in daily life. Family influence also persisted, with relatives continuing to weigh in, provide guidance, and mediate conflicts. Sources suggest that these interactions were complex, occasionally easing tension but sometimes intensifying the emotional stakes, as Kirk and Kendra had to balance personal feelings, family expectations, and public perceptions simultaneously. Observers describe the narrative as a dynamic interplay of emotion, strategy, and perception, in which progress was tentative, setbacks were frequent, and the potential for new revelations or renewed conflict remained ever present. Friends note that despite these challenges, Kirk and Kendra reportedly demonstrated resilience, navigating the ongoing intensity with a combination of reflection, strategic communication, and emotional negotiation. By the fourth month, insiders claim that patterns of measured engagement had become more consistent, with both parties demonstrating greater patience, awareness, and attempts to manage triggers proactively. Yet the emotional undertones persisted, a reminder of the enduring impact of the hotel night and the complexity of reconciling private experience with public narrative. New social interactions, unexpected developments, and fresh commentary from fans continued to influence the trajectory of the drama, ensuring that the narrative remained fluid, unpredictable, and emotionally charged. Sources assert that even as moments of understanding and calm emerged, the interplay of vulnerability, strategy, and public scrutiny ensured that Kirk and Kendra's story remained compelling, high-stakes, and deeply engaging. The long-term impact, insiders claim, extended beyond immediate emotional consequences, shaping relationships, perception, and decision-making in both private and public contexts. Each week reportedly brought new developments, subtle shifts in interaction patterns, and nuanced recalibrations of trust, emotion, and strategy. Observers describe the unfolding story as a continuous evolution, in which personal reflection, family involvement, and public engagement intersected to create a perpetually dynamic narrative, maintaining high levels of suspense, fascination, and emotional intensity. Friends and family, alongside fans, reportedly remained invested, analyzing developments, interpreting actions, and debating potential outcomes, ensuring that the story retained its dramatic momentum. Sources conclude that while Kirk and Kendra had made progress in managing emotional turbulence and public perception, the hotel night's legacy continued to shape the narrative, providing ongoing opportunities for reflection, confrontation, and engagement that kept the saga alive, captivating, and emotionally resonant for all involved. The story, insiders suggest, is far from concluded, with every day offering the potential for new twists, reconciliations, revelations, or moments of heightened tension, ensuring the drama surrounding Kirk and Kendra remains a source of fascination, speculation, and high emotional stakes. As the months wore on, sources claim that the intensity surrounding Kirk and Kendra's relationship continued to escalate, evolving into a complex web of emotion, strategy, and public scrutiny that touched nearly every aspect of their daily lives. The hotel night, initially a singular dramatic incident, reportedly became a reference point for nearly every interaction, a lingering shadow shaping decisions, perceptions, and relationships. Friends close to Kirk allegedly observed that he spent long hours reflecting on past conversations, family interactions, and social media commentary, often weighing every possible interpretation of events and considering the potential ripple effects of even minor gestures. "It's like nothing is just simple anymore," one confidant reportedly said. "Every word, every look at could be a headline tomorrow." Kendra, on the other hand, reportedly navigated a delicate balance of maintaining her dignity, asserting her perspective, and protecting her reputation while simultaneously managing the emotional toll of constant scrutiny. Insiders claim she frequently communicated with trusted friends to process her feelings, clarify intentions, and strategize her next moves, all while aware that any misstep could be magnified in the public eye. Observers describe the dynamic between the pair as oscillating between tense confrontations and brief moments of fragile understanding. Conversations that were intended to clarify or reconcile frequently turned into emotionally charged exchanges, with each party articulating grievances, frustrations, and vulnerabilities accumulated over time. At one reported instance, Kirk allegedly expressed his exhaustion with the relentless scrutiny. "I feel like every step I take is watched, judged, and twisted. It's like I can't breathe without someone analyzing me." Kendra, according to sources, responded with equal intensity, asserting her right to be heard and acknowledged. "I'm not here to play games. I just want to be understood, to have my perspective respected." These cycles of confrontation, reflection, and negotiation became a defining feature of their post-hotel night interactions, creating a rhythm of tension punctuated by fleeting moments of connection and understanding. Social media continued to act as both magnifier and disruptor, with fans dissecting every post, comment, and gesture. Sources indicate that this environment of relentless observation and interpretation intensified the pressure on Kirk and Kendra, influencing not only public-facing decisions but also private emotional responses. Memes, speculative threads, and commentary were described as a constant backdrop, amplifying both tension and emotional vulnerability. Family involvement, according to insiders, added an additional layer of complexity. Relatives reportedly attempted to mediate, advise, and support, but differing loyalties, perceptions, and interpretations of events occasionally created further friction. Kirk and Kendra reportedly had to navigate not only their own emotions but also the influence of family opinions, guidance, and reactions, making each interaction multi-layered and emotionally charged. Private conversations reportedly continued to oscillate between emotionally charged confrontations and attempts at reconciliation. Sources suggest that both Kirk and Kendra engaged in extended dialogues in which they revisited perceived missteps, expressed frustration and disappointment, and attempted to negotiate a path forward. Friends close to the pair reportedly observed that these discussions, though exhausting, were crucial for attempting to establish understanding, rebuild trust, and navigate the emotional aftermath of the hotel night. Unexpected developments reportedly emerged during this period, according to insiders. Allegedly, private messages, social media posts, and casual interactions occasionally reignited speculation or introduced new points of tension, forcing Kirk and Kendra to engage in additional cycles of clarification, reflection, and strategic communication. Observers note that these surprises contributed to the enduring intensity of the narrative, keeping both parties on heightened emotional alert. By the fourth month, sources claim that patterns of strategic communication and measured engagement had become more consistent, though the emotional undercurrents persisted. Kirk and Kendra reportedly demonstrated increased awareness of potential triggers, refined their methods for managing conflict, and became more deliberate in their interactions, both privately and publicly. Friends described this period as a careful balancing act, in which progress was fragile, setbacks were frequent, and every interaction required careful attention to emotional tone, content, and context. The interplay between private emotion and public perception reportedly continued to shape decisions, interactions, and even professional considerations. Insiders claim that social media activity, public appearances, and personal communications were increasingly filtered through the lens of potential interpretation, scrutiny, and consequence. Minor events, seemingly insignificant, could trigger renewed tension, public speculation, or private reflection, ensuring that the story remained dynamic and emotionally charged. Family influence continued to complicate the landscape. Sources suggest that relatives oscillated between providing guidance, mediating disputes, and expressing concern, sometimes alleviating tension, other times amplifying it. Kirk and Kendra reportedly had to carefully balance their own emotional needs with family expectations and opinions, creating an environment in which every interaction carried multiple layers of significance. The feedback loop between personal emotion, social perception, and family influence reportedly created a highly charged dynamic, in which every word, gesture, or post had amplified consequences. By the fifth month, insiders described the emotional terrain as a continuous ebb and flow, in which Kirk and Kendra experienced cycles of vulnerability, confrontation, reflection, and reconciliation. Friends close to the pair reportedly noted that while moments of calm existed, underlying tension remained, with old grievances, miscommunications, and lingering emotional impacts resurfacing unexpectedly. Social media remained a persistent factor, with fans dissecting content, analyzing interactions, and debating implications, ensuring that the saga maintained its public fascination and dramatic momentum. Professional considerations reportedly intertwined with personal dynamics during this time. Sources suggest that decisions regarding appearances, engagements, and projects were increasingly influenced by awareness of narrative management, public perception, and potential fan response. Friends note that this added another layer of pressure, as choices were carefully considered to avoid reigniting tension or amplifying speculation. Observers claim that Kirk and Kendra's conversations continued to be marked by emotional intensity, strategic reflection, and negotiation of understanding. Dialogues reportedly included discussions of past grievances, expressions of vulnerability, and attempts to reconcile conflicting perspectives. Friends noted that these discussions, while taxing, were instrumental in navigating the ongoing consequences of the hotel night, providing a framework for cautious progress amid a highly charged emotional environment. By the 6th month, sources assert that Kirk and Kendra had developed a rhythm of cautious engagement, combining strategic communication with private reflection. While this approach offered moments of stability, the potential for renewed tension or unexpected developments reportedly remained, creating a constant state of heightened awareness and emotional vigilance. Social media, family involvement, and lingering emotional complexity continued to shape the narrative, ensuring that the story remained dynamic, unpredictable, and deeply engaging. Even with periods of apparent calm, insiders emphasize that the potential for new revelations, confrontations, or shifts in public perception persisted, keeping both Kirk and Kendra on a continuous path of negotiation, reflection, and emotional management. Friends and family reportedly continued to monitor the situation closely, offering guidance, support, or mediation when necessary, yet aware that the emotional intensity of the hotel night's aftermath required patience, sensitivity, and careful navigation. Observers note that the interplay of private experience, public scrutiny, and relational complexity ensured that the drama remained compelling, high-stakes, and emotionally charged, sustaining interest from fans, family, and acquaintances alike. Sources emphasize that every day brought opportunities for new developments, renewed dialogue, or fresh reflection, maintaining the narrative's dynamic energy and dramatic tension. Kirk and Kendra's story, insiders claim, illustrates the challenges of navigating personal relationships under the dual pressures of emotional complexity and public observation. Friends describe an environment in which emotional reflection, strategic communication, and relational negotiation intersected with social perception, creating a continuous, evolving narrative that remained deeply captivating, unpredictable, and emotionally resonant. Observers conclude that the hotel night's legacy continues to shape interactions, decisions, and perception, providing an ongoing source of tension, reflection, and public intrigue. The saga, insiders suggest, is far from concluded, with every interaction, comment, and disclosure contributing to a narrative that continues to unfold, captivate, and emotionally engage all those involved, ensuring that the story remains a central point of discussion, speculation, and fascination for the foreseeable future. Even as Kirk and Kendra reportedly developed methods for managing tension, processing emotion, and navigating social scrutiny, the potential for new twists, confrontations, or revelations remains ever present, sustaining the high-stakes, dramatic intensity, and compelling narrative that fans, family, and observers have come to follow closely. The unfolding story, insiders assert, continues to evolve in unpredictable, emotionally charged, and strategically complex ways, reflecting the enduring impact of the hotel night, the intricacies of relational dynamics, and the influence of public perception on private lives, ensuring that Kirk and Kendra's saga remains a source of fascination, debate, and high emotional investment. As time continued to pass, sources indicate that the ripple effects of Kirk and Kendra's infamous hotel night showed no signs of fading. The incident, which had initially ignited waves of speculation, gossip, and emotional turbulence, reportedly evolved into a constant undercurrent shaping nearly every facet of their interactions. Friends close to Kirk claim that he remained acutely aware of the public's gaze, meticulously analyzing every gesture, every word, every post for potential misinterpretation or scrutiny. He allegedly confided to a confidant, I can't even text without thinking someone's going to twist it into something dramatic. Kendra, on the other hand, reportedly balanced her emotional vulnerability with a strategic awareness of her narrative, carefully managing private conversations, public appearances, and social media presence to maintain control over her story. Sources describe a delicate equilibrium between their private emotions and the external pressures of family involvement, fan scrutiny, and media attention, creating an environment in which every action carried weight and significance far beyond the moment. Insiders report that the tension often manifested in cycles of confrontation and reflection. Private conversations, intended to clarify misunderstandings or reconcile differences, frequently escalated into emotionally charged debates, with each party expressing pent-up frustrations, grievances, and vulnerabilities. At one reported instance, Kirk allegedly confronted Kendra with a mixture of exhaustion and frustration. "Every time I think we're past this, something else surfaces. It's like the hotel night never really ended." Kendra, according to sources, responded with equal intensity, asserting her perspective and demanding acknowledgement. "I'm not trying to fight. I just need you to see things from my side. I need to be heard." Friends close to the pair reportedly noted that these exchanges, though emotionally draining, were crucial in navigating the lingering impact of the hotel night, helping both parties articulate their emotions while attempting to rebuild trust. Social media, as ever, continued to amplify every development. Fans reportedly dissected posts, stories, and interactions, creating waves of speculation that influenced both Kirk and Kendra's decisions, perceptions, and emotional responses. Memes, commentary threads, and viral moments served as constant reminders of the public's attention, heightening the stakes of every interaction. Family involvement added another layer of complexity. Sources suggest that relatives often attempted to mediate, advise, or support, yet differing opinions, loyalties, and interpretations sometimes fueled additional tension. Kirk and Kendra reportedly found themselves navigating not only their own emotions, but also the perspectives, expectations, and influence of their extended social network. Observers describe a landscape of continuous negotiation, reflection, and emotional labor, in which progress was tentative and setbacks frequent. Over time, friends claim that both Kirk and Kendra developed strategies to manage tension more effectively, combining measured communication with strategic reflection. Private discussions reportedly focused on clarifying misunderstandings, negotiating boundaries, and addressing lingering grievances. Though exhausting, these conversations were described as essential in attempting to stabilize the relationship and mitigate the ongoing emotional impact of the hotel night. Unexpected developments reportedly continued to surface, maintaining a sense of unpredictability and drama. Sources allege that private messages, casual interactions, or social media activity sometimes reignited speculation, introduced new points of tension, or prompted renewed reflection. Each new element, insiders claim, served to reinforce the enduring emotional intensity and public fascination with the saga. By the sixth month, patterns of strategic engagement had reportedly become more consistent, though emotional undertones remained. Kirk and Kendra allegedly demonstrated greater awareness of triggers, refined their communication strategies, and attempted to manage both personal emotion and public perception with increased deliberation. Friends note that this period was characterized by a careful balance, with moments of calm interspersed with periodic flare-ups of tension or disagreement. Professional and social considerations were reportedly intertwined with the ongoing drama. Decisions regarding appearances, engagements, and public interactions were influenced by awareness of narrative control, potential scrutiny, and fan reaction. Friends close to the pair reportedly observed that even minor decisions now required careful reflection, as the interplay of emotion, perception, and consequence created a heightened environment of vigilance. Private conversations continued to reflect a mixture of reflection, confrontation, and cautious progress. Sources claim that Kirk and Kendra revisited past grievances, expressed vulnerability, and attempted to reconcile differing perspectives. Friends noted that while these discussions were taxing, they were instrumental in establishing a tentative framework for understanding and rebuilding trust. Even as emotional intensity persisted, social media, family influence, and ongoing public attention continued to shape the narrative. Sources suggest that minor events, casual interactions, offhand remarks, or subtle posts could unexpectedly trigger renewed tension or reflection, maintaining the saga's dramatic momentum. The continuous interaction of private emotion, strategic communication, and public perception created a dynamic environment in which the story remained fluid, compelling, and emotionally charged. By the seventh month, insiders described Kirk and Kendra as navigating a complex interplay of reflection, strategy, and emotional management. Both reportedly became adept at recognizing triggers, calibrating responses, and anticipating potential fallout from private or public interactions. Friends report that while moments of calm existed, the potential for renewed conflict, speculation, or emotional flare-ups remained ever present. Family dynamics continued to contribute to the complexity. Relatives reportedly oscillated between mediation, guidance, and commentary, sometimes easing tension but occasionally amplifying stakes. Kirk and Kendra were tasked with balancing personal emotion, family input, and public scrutiny simultaneously, creating a landscape in which every interaction required careful consideration. Observers note that the story's continuing evolution, shaped by emotion, strategy, and social perception, ensured that public interest remained high, with fans, family, and acquaintances following each development closely. Sources claim that even as Kirk and Kendra made progress in managing tension, the hotel night's impact persisted as a central narrative thread, influencing decisions, interactions, and perceptions. The ongoing saga was characterized by cycles of confrontation, reflection, strategic engagement, and occasional reconciliation, maintaining suspense, engagement, and dramatic intensity. By the eighth month, insiders assert that patterns of communication had stabilized to some extent, with both parties demonstrating increased patience, deliberation, and awareness of emotional triggers. However, sources stress that emotional undertones, potential flare-ups, and public scrutiny ensured that the narrative remained dynamic, unpredictable, and compelling. Observers claim that the interplay between personal reflection, family influence, and fan engagement created a continuous feedback loop, sustaining the story's high stakes and dramatic tension. Minor incidents, social media commentary, and casual interactions purportedly had the capacity to reignite speculation or prompt new cycles of reflection, ensuring that the saga remained a central topic of discussion. Friends close to the pair reportedly noted that while some stability had been achieved, the emotional intensity never fully dissipated. Each interaction, decision, and disclosure continued to carry weight, shaping perception, influencing responses, and reinforcing the enduring relevance of the hotel night in both personal and public contexts. Sources emphasize that the story's ongoing evolution, marked by strategic negotiation, emotional reflection, and continuous observation, ensured that Kirk and Kendra's saga remained compelling, unpredictable, and deeply engaging for all parties involved. The narrative, insiders claim, illustrates the challenges of navigating personal relationships under constant scrutiny, highlighting the intersections of emotion, perception, strategy, and public attention. Observers note that even as Kirk and Kendra refined their approaches, the potential for new developments, confrontations, or revelations persisted, keeping the story alive, dramatic, and high. Friends, family, and fans reportedly remained invested, analyzing actions, interpreting motives, and anticipating outcomes, contributing to a dynamic environment of fascination, speculation, and emotional engagement. According to insiders, every day presented new opportunities for reflection, discussion, or renewed tension, ensuring that the saga maintained its narrative momentum, dramatic tension, and public allure. The story, sources assert, continues to unfold, shaped by emotional complexity, strategic engagement, and the persistent legacy of the hotel night, sustaining interest, engagement, and speculation among all who follow it closely. Even as Kirk and Kendra reportedly developed strategies for managing tension and navigating the interplay of personal emotion and public perception, the potential for unforeseen twists, renewed confrontation, or fresh revelations remained ever present, guaranteeing that the saga would continue to captivate, provoke, and emotionally resonate with fans, family, and observers alike. The unfolding events, insiders claim, reflect a continuing evolution, in which private dynamics, social influence, and relational complexity intersect to create a narrative that remains deeply compelling, unpredictable, and emotionally charged, sustaining the high-stakes drama that has captivated audiences for months. As the dust begins to settle, one thing remains crystal clear: Kirk and Kendra's saga is far from over. The hotel night may have sparked the initial fire, but its echoes are still shaping relationships, stirring emotions, and fueling endless debate. Fans are shocked, family tensions remain unresolved, and every glance, post, and private conversation carries the weight of past drama. Questions linger in the air: will reconciliation be possible, or has this night permanently altered the course of their story? The emotions ran high, the stakes have never been greater, and the public fascination only grows stronger. Every new twist has left viewers on the edge of their seats, speculating, theorizing, and passionately discussing every angle, every betrayal, every fragile moment of understanding. And while insiders have offered glimpses behind closed doors, no one knows for sure what will unfold next. The family was left divided, fans are divided, and even friends are caught in the whirlwind of tension, loyalty, and curiosity. You, the viewer, are now part of this story, weighing every move, analyzing every motive, and imagining what comes next. We want to hear your thoughts. Do you think Kirk and Kendra can repair the damage, or is this saga destined to keep spiraling into more chaos? Share your theories, drop your opinions in the comments, and join the conversation that everyone's buzzing about. Don't forget to hit that like button if you've been captivated by the drama. And make sure to subscribe so you never miss a single shocking revelation. Turn on notifications, because with every passing day, new developments, twists, and emotional confrontations could emerge, keeping this story alive and keeping you at the edge of your seat. Now, the question is, what happens next, and who will reveal the truth first? Stay tuned, because you don't want to miss a single moment of this unfolding drama.